A mother's whisper became a prophet's voice. From cradle to crown, a boy turned silence into guidance. If God spoke tonight, would you recognize his voice? Samuel did. A nation changed, and the message would shake Israel from Dan to Beersheba. This is the story of Prophet Samuel, the mouthpiece of God.
In the days when the judges ruled and the word of the Lord was precious and rare, there lived a woman named Hannah who carried a quiet ache that would not leave her. She had no child. Year after year, she traveled with her husband Elkanah to Shiloh, where the tabernacle stood and where old Eli served as priest. One bitter year, Hannah slipped away from the festival noise and wept before the curtain that veiled the holy place. Her lips moved, but no sound came. She vowed a vow. If the Lord would give her a son, she would give him back. No razor would ever touch his head, a lifelong sign of dedication. Eli at first thought her drunk and rebuked her, but when he learned the truth, he blessed her.
Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition.
In time, Hannah's arms were full. She named the boy Samuel, heard of God. When he was weaned, still small enough for a mother to lift with ease, and still heavy enough to leave a hollow in her arms, Hannah returned to Shiloh. She set the boy in Eli's care with an offering and a prayer that has rung through centuries.
My heart rejoiceth in the Lord, for there is none holy as the Lord.
Each year she visited with a new little robe, stitched at home with love and tears. Samuel grew, a boy among lampstands and linen, learning the smell of incense, the scratch of parchment, the quiet discipline of service. One night, as the sanctuary lamp burned low and Eli slept in his chamber, Samuel heard his name.
Samuel.
He ran to Eli.
Here am I, for thou calledst me.
I called not, my son. Lie down again.
It happened a second time, then a third. Eli, slow with years but quickened by memory, understood.
Go, lie down, and it shall be, if he call thee, that thou shalt say, Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth.
The voice came again, and Samuel answered as taught. A burdening message followed. The sin of Eli's sons would no longer be overlooked. Judgment would fall on his house. In the gray of morning, Samuel feared to tell it, but Eli insisted, and the boy told him all. From that day, word spread from Dan to Beersheba that Samuel was established as a prophet of the Lord. The silence of those years fractured. God was speaking again. Israel, however, still staggered. When the Philistines gathered for war, Israel carried the ark from Shiloh as if it were a charm to guarantee victory. Eli's sons marched beside it. The battle was a disaster. The ark captured, the priests slain. News reached Eli. He fell backward and died. His grandson was born at the same moment and named Ichabod. The glory is departed. Shiloh's lamp went out. In those dark days, the Lord raised Samuel to lead. He did not wear a crown, but he carried authority that felt like mourning after a long night. He moved among the towns, calling Israel to return, not to superstition, but to the living God.
Put away the strange gods. Prepare your hearts unto the Lord, and serve him only.
At Mizpah, the people fasted and confessed. The Philistines, seeing Israel gathered, advanced to scatter them. Samuel took a suckling lamb, offered it wholly, and cried to the Lord. Thunder answered, deep, rolling, disorienting, so that the Philistines were routed. Samuel set a stone between Mizpah and Shen, and named it Ebenezer.
Hitherto hath the Lord helped us.
The stone held a memory the land needed. Rescue comes from heaven. Years passed. Samuel judged Israel faithfully, traveling a circuit, Bethel, Gilgal, Mizpah, always returning to Ramah, where he built an altar to the Lord. Yet, as Samuel aged, Israel's eyes drifted toward the great nations, to their ordered armies and visible kings.
Make us a king to judge us like all the nations,
they said. The request cut Samuel, as if the people were refusing not only his leadership, but the one who had chosen him. He brought the matter to God and received a stern permission. Warn them what a king would mean: conscription, taxes, fields taken for royal use, but grant their wish. Then, on an otherwise ordinary day, a tall Benjamite named Saul set out to find his father's lost donkeys. Providence braided itself into the mundane. Directed by a servant to the seer, Saul met Samuel at the city gate. Before Saul could speak, Samuel greeted him as if he had been expected all along, promised the donkeys were found, and invited him to a place of honor at the feast. At dawn, Samuel took a vial of oil, poured it on Saul's head, and kissed him.
Is it not because the Lord hath anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance?
He told Saul of signs that would confirm the call: men with loaves, a band of prophets, and every sign unfolded like pages turning. Public recognition followed at Mizpah, where lots were cast and Saul was chosen. Some shouted, "God save the king!" Others despised him. When crisis came, Jabesh-Gilead besieged. Saul, filled with righteous zeal, rallied Israel and won a swift victory. Samuel gathered the nation at Gilgal. There he renewed the kingdom and gave his farewell address, not resignation, but reminder. He called the Lord as witness to his own integrity, rehearsed Israel's history of rescue, and urged the people to fear the Lord and serve him in truth. As if to underscore the warning, he prayed, and God sent thunder and rain in harvest time, a sign that twisted clear weather into trembling hearts.
Only fear the Lord,
Samuel urged,
and serve him. Consider how great things he hath done for you.
but kingdom stories are seldom straight. Pressure mounted against Saul, and impatience unfastened obedience. At Gilgal, with Philistine forces massing and his own men scattering, Saul watched the days tick by, waiting for Samuel to offer sacrifice as appointed. On the seventh day, Samuel had not yet appeared. Saul seized the priestly roll and offered the burnt offering. As flames still crackled, Samuel arrived.
What hast thou done?
Saul's excuses could not disguise his disobedience. Samuel's verdict was solemn.
Thou hast done foolishly. Now thy kingdom shall not continue.
God was seeking a man after his own heart. Years later, another command tested Saul, a decisive strike against Amalek. Spare none, the Lord had said. Saul won the battle, but spared the king and the best of the flocks, draping disobedience with the language of worship, to sacrifice unto the Lord. Samuel was wakened by the Lord's grief.
It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king.
He cried all night, then confronted Saul at dawn. The king greeted him with an easy,
I have performed the commandment.
but the bleating of sheep cut through the claim. Samuel's reply has outlived kings.
Hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice.
When Saul grabbed Samuel's robe in pleading, it tore, and Samuel declared,
The Lord hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day.
He himself finished the judgment on Amalek's king, then turned and went his way, seeing Saul no more, though he mourned him still. The Lord sent Samuel to Bethlehem next, his horn of oil filled again, but this time he traveled in secrecy, for Saul's jealousy burned hot. At Jesse's house, the prophet watched 7 sons pass, each bearing the kind of stature that impresses courts. Broad shoulders, strong eyes, yet each time the whisper came,
Neither hath the Lord chosen this.
Samuel hesitated until Jesse admitted one remained, the youngest, out in the fields. When David entered, sun-dark and bright-eyed, the word came clear.
Arise, Anoint him, for this is he.
Oil streamed down the boy's hair, and the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him from that day. Samuel recognized the mystery. God does not see as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance. God looks on the heart. After Bethlehem, Samuel returned to the quieter rhythms of Ramah. He continued to judge and to teach. Prophetic communities gathered, companies of men singing and speaking the word of God. Sanctuaries of truth in an age increasingly tangled by palace intrigue. Even Saul's soldiers sent to capture David near Samuel were overcome in Ramah and began to prophesy. Truth has a way of answering violence with a stronger wind. Time, like a slow river, carried the prophet toward his rest. He had been the hinge of an age, child of a mother's vow, last of the judges, first among the prophets of the kingdom era, the man who anointed Israel's first 2 kings and learned by tears what a crown can cost. When Samuel died, all Israel gathered and mourned for him. They buried him at his house in Ramah, a simple phrase to end a life that was anything but simple. Yet the story does not close with a tomb. It lingers in the shape of a life attentive to God, a boy who answered, "Speak, for thy servant heareth." A leader who called a people back from magic and fear to repentance and trust. A prophet who told kings the truth and loved them enough to weep when they refused it. A teacher who trained others to listen for the voice he had first heard in the night. In a time when words from heaven were rare, Samuel's life became a lamp that refused to go out. And through that lamp, the light of the Lord spread again across Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, until a shepherd king rose, and the line of promise marched onward toward the one who would finally fulfill it.
Thank you for joining us today. If this story has blessed your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more faith-based Bible story.